Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so happy that you are here today. Thank you so much for listening, you and your family together. This is so fun that you are here. If this is your first time listening, I hope you really enjoy this and you keep coming back. Don't forget to listen to the end of every episode. That's where we have the kids only segment where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Well, for the past few weeks, I've been telling you about my 100th episode that's coming up very soon. And these 100 episodes, they really represent the past couple years doing this podcast, which I love, and I had no idea I would love it so much. So I'm so glad that you are here as we get closer to the 100th episode. I wanted to make sure that you knew about the giveaway. So in honor of the 100th episode, I've asked guests from previous episodes to contribute some of their books and products that I know you will love. So all you have to do is post something on your social media about the podcast and be sure to tag Collide Kids Pod in that post, or you can go and leave a rating and a review at Apple Podcasts. And that is a great way for people to hear about the show and also puts you in the running for being in the giveaway. So it's so simple. Speaking of reviews, a few of you have filled these out and I love reading these. One said, "What a fun concept for a podcast, having it focus on adults and kids. Christen is a great host and she has really good guests who are also both fun and helpful." Thank you so much. So just a short sentence like that could put you in the running for the giveaway. So be sure to head over to my social media, Instagram and Facebook, where you can learn more about being a part of the giveaway and check out some of the exciting things that you can win. Well, I don't know about your family, but for my family, doing a family devotion time is something that we love to do and we cherish it, but we are not that good at being consistent. It's really hard with our different schedules and all the activities to really have a time to sit down each day or each week and spend that time together learning more about God. And so I love when there are easy resources and devotionals that help with that. And there is a brand new resource that I am so excited to talk to you about, and it is called Core 52 Family Edition. Now, you might be familiar with Core 52's line of resources, but this is a family edition that is perfect for your family. While there are lots of one-year Bible reading plans and family devotionals, few of these resources help kids understand the words that they're reading. And sometimes the adults could use a little help too, right? In this new edition of the popular Core 52 line of resources, Mark Moore and his daughter Megan Howerton coach you and your family through 52 of the Bible's key verses. Mark is a teaching pastor at Christ Church of the Valley in Phoenix, Arizona, one of the fastest growing and most dynamic churches in America. Here he leverages 2 decades of college classroom teaching in New Testament. His goal is to make scripture accessible and relevant to people trying to make sense of Christianity. His 2 worlds of academic Bible study and practical Christian living come together in this powerful resource line called Core 52. Megan, his daughter, is a veteran teacher who previously used her gifts as an elementary educator, but now focuses on her favorite students, her children. Core 52 Family Edition was born out of combining her big passions, loving Jesus, raising the next generation, and valuable teaching. Megan lives in Phoenix with her husband and her 4 wonderful children. If you have ever been challenged to do family devotions, this episode is definitely for you. So here is my conversation with Mark Moore and Megan Howerton. Megan and Mark, I am so excited to have you guys on the Collide Kids podcast today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, this is great. And I'm excited to meet you. I've never met you guys before, but I heard about your book and I'm really excited for you guys to share with my listeners about what you guys do. So will you guys just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am a teacher turned stay-at-home mom. And I have 4 kids with my husband, Jordan, and we live in Phoenix, Arizona. And I am kind of a accidental author now.
Yeah,
Surprise.
we'll tell more of that story. I am a college professor turned teaching pastor. 10 years ago, I traded my title, Professor Moore, for the title Pastor Mark, and I think it was an upgrade. Well, I have two children. My favorite is on the call with me right now. I'll call my other favorite later. He's my son, who's a pastor in Georgia.
Oh, that's so cool. Very cool. Well, I am excited for you guys to talk about all that you guys do. But before we get into that, because this is a podcast for kids, we always like to start out with a joke. So do you guys have a joke you want to share with us?
Megan, you
Sure.
first.
Okay. By the way, this gives me a little anxiety because I told some jokes. I volunteer with the first and second grade at our church, and I was testing out some jokes on them, and I got 0 laughs. So
They're
here goes
so
nothing.
honest, aren't they? They're brutally honest.
Well, I decided not to do that one today. So
Okay.
Here's my joke. Why did the student eat his homework? His
I don't
teacher
know.
said it was a piece of cake.
Nice. That's a good one.
Well, this riddle comes out of a book entitled "I'm Just No Good at Rhyming and Other Nonsense for Mischievous Kids and Immature Grown-Ups." Great
Love it.
title.
Yeah, great title.
It is my oldest grandson's favorite riddle out of the book, which is Megan's oldest son, Jackson. Here's the riddle. I have 10 legs, but I usually fly. I'm harder than rock and sweeter than pie. I'm something you listen to every day. The bigger I get, the less I weigh. What am I?
Okay, you're going to have to repeat that. I have no idea. Say that one more time.
But just remember, it is an unfair riddle. I have 10 legs, but I usually fly. I'm harder than rock, but sweeter than pie. I'm something you listen to every day. The bigger I get, the less I weigh. What am I? I am a porcupine that likes to make up lies about himself.
I was thinking, what has 10 legs? I'm still in the first one. That's great. I love that. That's a good one. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. That's always fun to start out that way. So let's get started. I would love to hear about your book and how it got started.
Well, I'll kick off the story and then turn it over to Megan. But we were in the swimming pool in my backyard. We have a Sunday swim day half the year in Phoenix, Arizona. And she said, "Dad, I love this book, Core 52, and it's for adults. It's really made an impact." She said, I wish there was one for kids, like for Jackson." I said, "Well, write it." To which she said, "Oh, I can't write a book. That's why it's an accidental book." And her husband and I kind of ganged up on her and said, "Look, you were a teacher. You are my daughter. You're Bible college educated, and you have 4 kids. Who else could take this book and turn it into a seminary for kids 6 through 11? And so she said, "Okay, I'll give you a few chapters." When I read those first chapters, Christen, it blew me away. I actually got really emotional because I could see children through her writing grabbing a hold of deep biblical concepts at age appropriate levels. It just is very exciting for me to see it come to print.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I'm excited about getting my copy is it's something that our family can do and learn together. And I think a lot of times parents are intimidated by teaching their kids the Bible. Why do you think that is, that parents get intimidated by that kind of stuff?
Well,
I think sometimes we're expected to, or we put the expectation on ourselves that we have to have all of the answers. And that if our kid asks us a question that we don't know the answer to, then we're just no good at it. And that's just not true, especially when it comes to the Bible, because it is a lifelong journey of questions and finding the answer to those questions.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I'll speak as a man, we know we can't compete with women verbally. And so often when it comes to reading, men don't read. And you go to church and somebody's reading out of a Bible, and you just, like, the greatest fear of a man is to be embarrassed. And so if I'm going to be embarrassed, then I'm not going to play the game. So what we've done with Core 52 is we've given the male the ability to cheat. So we have not only do they have an adult version of the book so they can be one step ahead of their kids, but there's a video that's free for everybody on YouTube for each chapter. So you have resources as a parent to fully engage with your child in this biblical concept.
Yeah. I think for me, whenever I teach someone else something I'm learning, especially things about the Bible, I'm going to learn so much more than what I actually teach. And so I think it's exciting for families to consider this as a resource because, like you said, there's videos, there's lots of different things that they can get into. Let's talk a little bit about the book. Like how is it laid out? What's the idea of Core 52?
So there is an adult version that's just Core 52, and the family edition follows the same format pretty much, so that if you want to do it as a family, you can do any edition and follow the same format and do the same things on the same day. So with that being said, day one, there is going to be, I don't really want to call it a story because it might not necessarily be a story, but there's a piece of reading to read that's going to be kind of like your lesson of the week. And then day two is going to be focused on memorizing the passage of scripture, the memory verse for the week. Day three is going to be the Bible story as a whole that pertains to that topic. And day four, you're going to see a little bit of discrepancy between the adult version and the kid version, just because that's a lot of heavy stuff for a kid. So the reading might be split between 2 days for the kids, or it might be two separate stories that relate to that topic. And in the adult version, you're going to see more Bible. So the kids might not get all of the Bible story that the adults are getting, but they're getting the main point. And then day five in both books is focused on kind of a deeper understanding. In the adult version, you're going to see a lot of meditate on this. And in the kids version, you're going to see a mentoring moment. So the book is designed for parents to be the spiritual mentor of their kids' lives. So there's a question that the parents should ask the kids, and there's also a question for the kids to ask the parents. So it sets the parent up to be able to give an answer that they really want to tell their kid, but it's kind of their kid's idea.
Yeah, that day five, Christen, is actually what made me so emotional about Megan's writing, because I could see moms and dads at their dinner table or in a kid's bedroom doing real discipleship through these questions. You're setting a parent up. So you're giving a question for the kid to ask the parent that every parent actually wants to answer for their kid every week for 52 weeks of a year.
Yeah. And I love that it's 52 weeks. You're covering the entire year for parents to have these conversations, which is amazing. And I love that the kids get to ask a few questions. Can you give us an example of maybe one of the questions the kids might get to ask their parents?
Sure. Well, there's another layer to this also, because as we were developing questions, I have 4 children. So the age span of my kids is pretty broad. And so I was thinking, well, how can I do this with my oldest and my 3rd kid at the same time? So there are actually, each day there are leveled questions. So there's kind of like a first level question. Do you understand? A second level question takes it a little bit deeper. And the 3rd level question takes it really, really deep. So here's an example of the middle question. I'll give you the middle of the road. The mentor asks the child, how do you enjoy someone else's creation? How have you enjoyed someone else's creation recently? So we're talking about, it's in week 1, we're talking about how God created the world, and he's invited us to add to his creation and create also. And then the child turns around and asks the mentor, how do you handle yourself when someone doesn't enjoy what you've created?
Wow.
So it just sets the parent up to really pour wisdom into their child's life for something that maybe the child doesn't have words to ask the question, but having the wisdom will be beneficial.
Yeah. I think a good amount of my listeners are kids. So tell the kids a little bit about why this book is good for them and their family to do together.
Well, I think one really fun aspect is that you do get to quiz your parents. It's not just them asking you for the answers. You get to be the one who gets to ask them the question. And you're also going to have challenges every week. And some of them are going to involve you and your family doing something together that you kind of get to be the ringleader of. It might be putting on a puppet show, or it might be making a dessert together or something like that. But you get to kind of be in charge of that sometimes.
I love that. I think that sounds so fun. And I think this book is going to be really good. It sounds like it's pretty simple. Like when you think about, okay, 52 weeks a year, but it sounds like each day is pretty simple. Why did you lay it out that way? We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
I was trying to make it so that a family could do this separately but together, if that's what was desired. So just for the simplicity of, if a parent is going through Core 52, or let's say a church is going to do this together as a whole congregation, then everyone is doing the same thing on the same day. It might look a little bit different, but on day 2, you're going to be memorizing scripture. On day 3, you're going to be digging into the Bible. On day 5, you're going to be going deeper with this concept. So every day you're doing the same thing, no matter what it looks like. And so if a parent wants to do their own study separately, that's the adult version, along with the family study with their kid, or if they want to try to send their kid to do the study independently, that can happen too.
Yeah, Christen, I would just like to talk to the kids directly who are listening. You guys, you don't underestimate how much impact you can have on your parents. It's often because you want to go to church that your parents go to church. And if you show interest in the Bible, your parents show interest. In some ways, though they are the parent, you are helping them. And Jesus himself was aware of this. He put kids on his lap, and he prioritized children because sometimes kids have a clearer view and vision of God than even adults do. And adults, we can actually see God's priorities through your eyes. So don't be shy about picking up this book, taking it to your parents and saying, hey, let's do this together.
That's awesome. I'd love to know a little bit about how it is to put together a book like this as a father and daughter. What's that been like?
Well, I was actually nervous that he would sugarcoat some things for me because I'm his daughter, that he would like tell me something is wonderful or great because he didn't want to hurt my feelings. And I said that to him, and he just kind of chuckled and said, Megan, these kids' salvation is way more important to me than your pride. So then I knew from then on, like, okay, if something is good, you mean it. And if something needs to be tweaked, then we'll work on that too. But it's been really fun. It's been a really fun project to do together.
What about you, Mark?
We did a lot of it through my Google Drive. And so I could see when she was working on a document, and it allowed me, even though she was unaware that I was, getting alerts on my phone or on my computer that she's online, where I know exactly how hard she worked on this. And for me to see her, there was a lot of childcare involved so she could get this done. And then there were some times, some of our Sunday afternoons, when it's usually swim time, where my wife and the kids were out of the pool and she and I were in my office just hashing through the questions. The hardest part, really, Megan did a fabulous job with the writing, and then I read through it, said what I liked and didn't like. But the questions, think about, we have 3 days of questions, 3 leveled questions for each day. There are hundreds of questions for parents to ask kids and kids to ask parents. And that was probably the biggest challenge for us, trying to come up with great questions for parents and kids.
Great questions that weren't duplicated in other weeks too.
Oh yeah, that would be hard.
It was difficult.
So I'm thinking about the people that are hearing about this book and they think, this sounds really hard, or this sounds like, I don't know if I could do this. This sounds like a big commitment. What would you say to those people?
I would say do what works for you. You don't have to follow it just like someone else is following it. And you don't even have to follow it just like it's laid out either. If 5 days a week doesn't work for you, then do 2 days a week and go through the book at your pace or whatever. It doesn't have to look exactly like it's laid out. It just has to work for you.
Yeah, and I would say, Christen, Megan and her husband just went on a week's vacation, and we had their 4 kids. There is nothing easy about parenting, period. Brushing teeth every night takes longer than this does. So if you have your kids brush their teeth, if you have your kids do their homework, if you have your kids make their lunches for school, this is no harder than any of that. The question is, do you want to do the hard work of spiritual parenting when they're 6 through 11 or when they're 16 through 18?
Yeah, that's so true.
If you don't get biblical values in your kids, that's what makes parenting really hard and really painful.
Very true. And I think there's so many people, and I'm guilty of this too, is assuming that the church will just take care of it. Like we'll just send them to church on Sunday and they'll get what they need. And that's a good thing, definitely. But I think, like you were saying earlier, Megan, it's important for parents to be the spiritual leader and the spiritual mentor in the family. And so having these resources, I think, is going to help so many families do that. So I'm excited. I'd love to know what your family, Megan, like what your kids really enjoy about the book. What's their favorite thing about it?
Well, I think their favorite thing is that Mommy wrote this. But the way that we do our Bible study for our kids is at the breakfast table. So while they're all eating their breakfast and hopefully not talking so much, we read through it and do it. And so I think they have come to really enjoy just that time together as a family, no matter what study that we are doing. But about this book specifically, I think the challenges are really fun. It gives them a little extra something to do.
Yeah. And like you said, something they get to lead on.
Yeah.
Give us another couple examples of some of the challenges, Megan. This is day 5 when we're trying to apply scriptures in a practical way.
Well, the challenge can be worked on all week, but you follow up on the challenge. What did you learn and things like that on day 5. So here's one. Create something this week that would improve someone's day. A cookies, a dance, something like that. All right, here's another one. If you've been upset with someone who is only trying to protect you, ask that person for forgiveness. So sometimes it's not a big project to do. Sometimes it's really simple. Write down your favorite promise from God and put it somewhere where you can see it and read it every day.
That's good.
Here's one that's really simple, but really awesome. Look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say, I am holy because God says I am holy. So those are just a few examples. And, some of them are more involved than others, but they're all extra and help you apply what you're learning that week.
And it sounds like those are all things that kids and parents can do.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
so
here's my favorite
not just
challenge.
The kids.
I can't remember what week this is in, but my favorite challenge is the kids go on a mission to be like a secret servant. So they, for a certain amount of time, serve their parents, do everything they ask them to do. They don't say anything about it. They just do it and see what they learn from that experience.
I think that's cool. I would love for my kids to do that.
Right?
Well, I'm really excited about this book. You also mentioned that there's other resources available. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we got a slew of resources at core52.org. And the resources for the family edition are at core52.org/family. So super simple. It's the family edition, core52/family. There's memory verses. Megan has done these wonderful little videos that actually help kids have strategies for memory verses. Megan, tell them about the parent guide too.
So as we were developing some of these questions, well, all of these questions, I was thinking about people whose background is different from mine, who didn't grow up with a dad who was a Bible college professor, or maybe didn't even grow up in the church. And I was thinking about how intimidating that could be to have these kids come to you with these questions. And so as we were writing the questions, we also developed a parent guide. So for each week, it doesn't tell you what to say, but it can help guide your answer, so that if you're like, I have no idea, you at least have a direction guiding you of, hey, focus on this in your answer, to help them guide their children.
It's kind of like having the book in your hand and Megan in your back pocket whispering in your ear.
That's awesome. That's so good. And I think that that's so helpful. And I appreciate that you guys did that and made that so that this isn't going to be complicated. And if someone feels overwhelmed, there's other places they can go. There's places they can find those resources and the help that they need, so that they can be leading their children and leading their family. And so I think that's really awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed talking with you guys today. Thank you so much for writing this book and creating this resource for families. I think it's important. And I think it's amazing that you guys did it together. Before I let you go, I always like to ask my guests to share a memory from when they were a kid. So I'll let you go first, Mark. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Probably playing, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I remember playing Little League, and you always want your dad's approval. And I was on third base, and this kid just hit a line drive, and I don't know, like instinctively, I just threw my glove up and caught it. It was probably the luckiest thing I've ever done, but it got my dad's approval, and I remember that.
Oh, that's cool. What about you, Megan?
All right. Well, seeing as how we're talking about Bible things, this story popped in my head. My brother and I one night got in this pretty heated argument, and he was trying to do what the Bible says. And so he wrote a lovely little note and slipped it under my bedroom door. And it said, "Do not let the sun go down on your anger." And so me also following what the Bible said, walked straight over to his room, crumpled it up and threw it at him and said, "The sun's already down, Josh."
There you go.
So, I'm not sure that's what the Bible really wants, but that's what happened.
Love it. I love that you guys fought with the Bible. That's amazing. Well, again, thank you guys so much for doing this today. This was great.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but after that conversation, I am so motivated to have family devotions and to make it a priority in our family. What perfect timing. I just got my copy of Core 52 Family Edition in the mail, and I'm telling you guys, it's incredible. So in just 10 minutes a day, you and your kids can master 52 core Bible verses over the course of a year and have a lot of fun doing that. It's really simple to follow. It's not complicated, and your family's really going to enjoy this resource. And I love that Megan encouraged us to do what works for your family. You don't have to follow the way it's laid out or do it the way someone else is doing it. It can look different for you. So don't get overwhelmed so that you don't ever do it. But just like Mark said, do you really want to? Is this important for you to lead your family spiritually, especially when your kids are younger? So I encourage you to make this a priority. And I agree that kids are so good about stuff like this. You have no idea the impact that you can have on your parents. And I think these few minutes a day each week are really going to be so sweet and so special. It's definitely worth your time. If you're interested in the book and learning more about their resources, go to core52.org/family. And on their website, you can even download a free chapter to try it out. How cool is that? Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So here's my friend Ellie.
Hi, my name is Ellie. This is my Bible verse. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Thank you, Ellie. I love that verse. That's one of my favorites. Well, hey, if you would like to be on the podcast just like Ellie was and share your favorite Bible verse, or maybe you have an encouraging quote that you like from a book or a movie, or maybe you have a favorite joke that you want to share, just go to my website, collidekidspodcast.com, and click the tab at the top that says Kids Only. Or you can find information about how to send it to me through my social media. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. If you'd like to support the podcast and be in the running for the giveaway, there's a few ways you can do that. First, be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you're using. And leave a rating and a review. It's so helpful when you do that. And I love reading those and hearing about what you guys think about the show. You can also share this episode with friends and family on your social media and tell them why you and your family like to listen. Or you can go by my website and click the link that says support. And anytime you think about it, I always appreciate your prayer support as well. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I just can't believe it's already October. Yep, you know what that means, right? It means Christmas is around the corner. I'm all ready for jingle bells, let me just tell you. Well, in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so very much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.